desire was not burned without reason. The silence of Kamakhya is never without cause. Before we dare to ask why Kamadeva, the one who offered himself for Lokakshema, was not saved, we must first approach Kamakhya not as a goddess of indulgence, but as the Mahamaya who stands beyond karma, beyond form, and beyond mortal sentiment. She is not a mother of selective compassion. She is the law. Modern spirituality has tried to tame her, reducing her to a symbol of sensual freedom or a shortcut to pleasure. But Kamakhya does not bend to delusion. Her grace does not come cheap. To even speak her name with depth, to even understand why she did not intervene to save Kamadeva, we must first pacify her heart, not through ritual alone, but through the fire of truth that burns illusions at their root. Let the following shloka be recited, not as a chant, but as an act of submission to divine law. Only then can we begin to understand the terrifying grace that gave rise to Kamakhya Kshetra. Samsara sagarottaratarani sukha moksha dhrita prasida sarva jagatam tvam gathe tvam mathi bhogyate. This shloka must not be read passively, but should be entered into with the force of truth. Samsara sagarottaratarani. Kamakhya has been hailed as the vessel that ferries beings across the terrifying ocean of samsara. This samsara must never be romanticized as mere longing for women and gold. Let men be added too, for the absurdity of the age demands it. Samsara is nothing but the horrific sea of birth and death, where sukha and dukkha crush beings like wheat between grinding stones. These stones, sukha and dukkha, grind only when turned by the hands of one's own actions, karma. Kamakhya alone becomes the raft, the unsinkable boat that carries her devotee beyond this destruction. No other raft is capable of bearing the burden of karma as she can. Sukha moksha dhrita. Kamakhya is described as the embodiment of bliss and moksha, and the sustainer of spiritual fortitude. This is not the sukha and moksha of soft-spoken modern discourses. This is not sukha born from sensual delight. This sukha is moksha. Moksha, liberation, must be understood not as escape from another's control, but freedom from one's own accumulated self. As inanimate gold cannot clean itself, the jiva too must reach the hands of the skilled goldsmith, the guru, who alone can burn away the crust of karma. This moksha is the privilege to be under the supreme divine's control. Not digital deliverance, but physical submission to a living embodiment of vidya. Prasida sarva jagatam. The prayer here is not desperation, but recognition. Be gracious is spoken to a queen, Kamakhya, whose will alone anchors all worlds. She is no tribal deity, no local goddess, no sectarian power. She is Sarva Jagatam Gati, the root of all existence, from dust to devas. Tvam Gatih, Tvam Matih Bhogyate. Kamakhya is declared as the goal, the intelligence, and the ultimate experience. She is not the way to something else. She is the end. She is also the very Mati, discriminative wisdom that reveals her presence. In the final realization, she is not only to be worshipped, she is to be experienced, entered into, possessed, and surrendered to. Kamakhya is the supreme bhogya, the true object of divine enjoyment, beyond metaphor. Let this shloka be recited by heart, not for ritual, but for awakening. For from now on, the nameless and formless Mahamaya shall be known simply as Kamakhya. Returning to the tale of Kamadeva. Why was Kamadeva not saved, though his mission was sanctioned by Brahma and supported by Kamakhya? Let it be understood, what is sown shall be reaped. Kamadeva was burned by Shiva not out of vengeance, but because that was the fruit of his karma. The divine, whether Shiva or Kamakhya, remains Sakshi Bhuta, merely witnessing one's actions. No spontaneous intervention shall be made to cancel karma just because devotion exists. If a man chants Swami Nama or mantra and his path begins to shift, it is because a new path has been undertaken, not because the old one was erased. Kamadeva is no exception.
If he had been saved, the Kamakhya Kshetra would not have emerged. The yoni would not have fallen upon Nilachala Parvata. No tantra would have been revealed, and Vashishta's curse that led to Kamakhya worship towards Vamachara would not have been known. Kamadeva was turned to ash. But what seems like destruction is often divine transformation. Kamadeva, in his fearless devotion, was made into Ananga, formless, yet equal to Vishnu. Though Vamachara is a superior path in its true essence, in this age of Kali, it is regarded as a lower path, only because we in our current births lack the adhikara, eligibility, to tread it in its purest form. Thus, Kamadeva was not saved in the conventional sense. He was consumed by the fiery tapas of Shiva. Yet even in this seeming destruction lay a hidden grace. For wherever Kamadeva goes, his beloved consort, Rachamba, Rati, follows. She witnessed the sorrowful burning of her divine husband in Shambhu's fire and, overwhelmed with grief, prayed with deep devotion to Mahadeva. Ratyamba, being none other than a manifestation of the same divine Shakti as Parvati, Lakshmi and Saraswati, radiated such pure Deva Chaitanya through her heartfelt prayer that even Shambhu's wrath was softened. Moved by her unwavering bhakti, Shiva granted a Shap Vimochana, a path for redemption. He declared that when Shakti, in the later days, is cut into pieces and her yoni falls upon the Nilachala Parvata, Kamadev and Ratyamba must consecrate that spot by establishing a temple in her honor. There, in that sacred kshetra, if they worship Mahamaya with sincerity, she will restore Kamadev's form once more. At first glance, it may appear that Kamadeva was reduced to ashes and lost his form while selflessly risking his life for the well-being of the worlds. But this is not a tale of defeat. This is the very moment he became Ananga, the bodiless one, akin to Vishnu himself, ever-pervading consciousness. This is why, without the grace of Kamadeva, no seeker can truly access the depths of Sri Vidya or Kali Vidya. Such is the place Amba has given him in her worship. The very force once permitted to bind beings in lower tendencies has, through her will, been transformed into the power that uplifts human consciousness. To those with only surface sight, it may seem he was destroyed. But in truth, by the boundless grace of Mahamaya, and through the strength of his sincere devotion, Kamadeva was not annihilated, he was sanctified. In that sacred transformation, he and Ratyamba attained a stature on par with the Trimurtis. Just remember this portion. This will help you understand the relevance of Pali happening in Kamakhya Kshetra. For Kamakhya, even here, Amba remained the silent Shakti Peetha, the divine witness. She did not intervene, for it was Kamadeva's own fearless effort, born of noble intent, that earned him such divine elevation. He reaped precisely what he had sown, not destruction, but divinity. This is why, before one steps into the sacred Kamakhya Kshetra, it is essential to have worshipped Shiva at Bhasmachala. Why so? The episodes surrounding Kamdev offer timeless lessons. Desire, if allowed unchecked, can pull a seeker away from true consciousness. Like even the Siddha Purushas remained no immune from the arrows of Manmatha, forget Swami, and indulged in forbidden actions, remained blind enough to notice the passing Shambhu with Nandi Bhagwan. Yet, those established in constant communion with Shambhu remained beyond its reach. From Nandi to Nandi Bhagwan. Approaching Swami or Amba with carnal intentions is a grave misstep. Such intent will burn away like Kamdev in Shiva's fire, and the seeker cannot withstand the divine presence. Swami is always a Sakshi Bhut, the silent witness. One must remain deeply aware of what they sow, for only then will the fruits be aligned with sincere devotion. Keeping these truths in heart, a seeker must approach Kamakhya with purity,
not as a goddess of desire in the worldly sense, a misconception unfortunately spreading in the name of Kamakhya sadhana today. She is not the giver of indulgence, but the awakener of divine consciousness.
Now we begin to see everything unfolds with purpose. And so, the fall of the Yoni to Nilachala Parvata too holds a deeper reason. That mystery shall be revealed in the next part, as the journey of Kamakhya Tattva Bodha continues. What appears to be destruction in the hands of truth is always purification. Kamadeva was not spared, not because he lacked bhakti, not because his mission was false, but because karma does not bend for emotion, not even divine emotion. And yet, he was not lost. He was made formless, ananga. And through this burning, he became pervasive, subtle, unbound. Kamakhya did not interfere, not out of absence, but out of absolute awareness. She stood as Shakti Peetha, the silent witness, watching as desire, karma, and tapas played out the law of dharma in full. Those who only seek soft blessings will see this as cruelty. But those who see through the eye of tattva will understand. No true elevation is possible without burning. The seeker who wishes to approach Kamakhya must first understand this. She does not reward fantasy. She transforms reality. Kamadeva became the force through which one enters the deepest layers of Sri Vidya. He who once bound the world in desire was made to guard the very gates of transcendence. If this tale is to be remembered, let it not be remembered as a tragedy. Let it be remembered as the first truth one must swallow before stepping into the Yoni Kshetra. Kamakhya is not a goddess to be pleased. She is a force to be surrendered to. In the next parts, the fall of the Yoni to Nilachala Parvata shall be revealed, not as a myth, but as a tattva hidden beneath centuries of forgetting. Let the reader now prepare to walk deeper. Before you invoke Kamakhya, understand what Kama truly is. Today, Kama has been reduced to sensual desire. This is not only a misunderstanding, it is spiritual suicide. Kama is not lust. Kama is the primordial force that keeps the soul attached to the earth, not just through carnal desire, but through greed, pride, hunger for power, obsession with gold, and the craving to be seen, liked, or worshipped. Kama is not evil. It is untamed. And unless it is directed toward the Supreme, toward Swami or Amba, it will bind, it will burn, and it will bury the seeker in illusion. Only when a man redirects that same force, that longing, that clinging, that intensity toward the divine, does Kama become worthy. Then it is not bondage, then it becomes bhakti. This is the foundational shift from Kama to Kamakala. Without this, one does not walk toward Kamakhya. One only walks in circles. Kama, Kamadeva. Before knowing Kamakhya, a man must know what Kama is first of all. Kama has become the just carnal desire. The essence of Kama is nothing but the primordial creative force that makes you hold on to the earth, which is represented by the Akshara K of Kama. That's all. Here, love becomes the main factor. Love towards money, love towards pride, love towards popularity, love towards governing, love towards gold, love towards money. All will hold this man in this earthly plane. And this holding factor is represented by the Akshara A of Kama. Through these varied expressions of Kama, a person is kept bound to the physical plane, which is represented by the Akshara Ma of Kama, drawn again and again into the cycles of desire and action, birth and death. This is what Kama is all about. When he ignores all these aforementioned loves and hold on to one and only Swami or Amba, it is when Kama is carrying the Artha with it, as the Dharma of men is to remain with servitude to do the work of Supreme Divine. At this point, it must not be imagined that Swami is personally instructing an individual to elevate others, especially when that individual remains a mere theoretician or a novice in sadhana. True service to Swami begins not with preaching, but by fulfilling the very purpose for which one has taken birth. This purpose is first realized by living as a good human being, by sincerely upholding the responsibilities tied to the many roles one inhabits in this life, as a son, a friend, a disciple, an employee, a husband, a father, a neighbor, a citizen, and so on. Performing these duties with integrity forms the foundation of one's dharma. Only when this foundation is firmly established through years of dedicated living and inner refinement under the guidance of a qualified and realized guru can one even begin to guide others. Preaching without such grounding is not only premature, it is contrary to the dharma of a true seeker. Only when a man carries the aforesaid dharma, his dharma gets the artha. This artha is the token to have Kama towards Swami or Amba, and it is this Kama that a man carries towards Swami or Amba helps him attain moksha. Unless a person stands firmly upon the foundation of dharma, the journey toward moksha, the fourth and final purushartha, cannot even begin. This is the true meaning of Kama, that which binds the soul to the earth. But when Kama is oriented toward the divine, it no longer binds, it elevates. This is what Kamakhya Tantra or Kamakhya Vidya is all about. Those who carry Kama towards Swami or Amba do not feel a desire to leave the earth, for there is no certainty that worship of them will be possible after this blessed human life comes to an end. Just as money, fame, success, gold, and the love of women drive men to chase them endlessly, in the same way, his longing for Swami or Amba will propel him forward on the path with equal intensity. He will not seek shortcuts like online dikshas, nor will he beat his chest with pride over lifeless texts. He will act, he will serve, he will strive. This is Kama toward the divine, and it is this form of Kama that fuels the pursuit of Vidyas. Without it, seekers become mere peddlers of dead texts, hawking mantras and stotras like fish in the marketplace. Such is the danger when Kama is absent from the pursuit of wisdom. Kamadeva, in this traditional sense, must not be mistaken for the westernized Cupid. The Rati Kamadeva of the Shakta and Tantric traditions is equal in stature to Lakshmi Narayana, Shiva Parvati, and Brahma Saraswati. He is not an icon of indulgence, but of divine longing, union, and movement of life. Ultimately, it is this sacred Kama that leads one to Kamakhya. For Kamakhya, in its deepest essence, is the embodiment of this very Kama. Again, what Kama? The Kama of Bhakti. This is what becomes the most famous topic, Kamakala. It is this Kama that comes with the Kala with it. The Kama that is getting promoted nowadays under Kamakhya comes with the Vikara with it and becomes Kama Vikara. Then how come in all the texts it is said, Kamakhya Vidya shall only be practiced by Vamachara? I will surely come to this, but first of all, leave the texts. Leave the orators. Texts may carry mantra, tantra, and even yantra with them, but they will not tell you how to chant the mantra, how to use the yantra. The methodology of usage of yantra is what is the tantra, and how to make the dead yantra a living one. Texts will help you gather stories, compile stotras, recite names, that's all. But it is the Vidya that helps one awaken wisdom, not information, not imitation.
Kama is not to be destroyed.
It is to be purified and surrendered. Just as a raging river, when given a course, becomes a powerful stream of life, so too does Kama, when turned towards Swami or Amba, become the fuel for sadhana. This is not fantasy. This is not intellectual gymnastics. This is Purushartha. The seeker who carries Kama toward the divine does not talk too much. He serves. He doesn't hide behind texts. He burns in tapas. He doesn't market mantras. He breathes them like fire. The danger today is not desire. The danger is directionless desire. That which should have become Kamakala is now spreading as Kamavikara. Distorted, self-serving, flesh-driven obsession sold in the name of Kamakhya sadhana. The solution is not in quoting scriptures. The solution is in reclaiming Kama. Reclaim it and turn it toward the Supreme. Let every seeker now ask, what is the true object of their longing? If it is not Amba, then they are not on the path. They are merely orbiting their own delusions. Kama, when pointed upward, becomes the stairway to moksha. Kama, when left to wander, becomes the chain that binds. This is why Kamadeva is honored, not dismissed. This is why Kamakhya is not the goddess of indulgence. She is the fire that transforms desire into divine hunger. And so, Kamakhya Tattva Bodha continues. In the next episodes, we will address the question that confuses even the most well-read seekers. Is Vamachara the only way to worship her? Let the delusions burn. Let the truth stand tall. Now that the nature of Kama and Kamadeva's transformation into Ananga has been clearly revealed, we return to a critical turning point in this cosmic unfolding. Why does Mahamaya Kamakhya eventually descend into Daksha's household as Sati? What sets the stage for her yoni to fall upon Nilachala Parvata? The answer lies not in isolated events, but in a chain of karmic consequences. From Kamadeva's incineration by Mahadeva, to Ratyamba's plea, to the divine upaya granted by Shiva. Kamadeva may regain his body, but only if he consecrates a temple for Kamakhya upon Nilachala. From here, the divine Leela continues. Mahamaya agrees to take birth as Daksha's daughter, with the promise that she will marry Shiva and will abandon her mortal form the moment Daksha loses bhakti. Thus begins a saga of devotion, tapas, divine longing, and the deep stirring of karmic destinies. Every consequence is born from an action. No action, no consequence, and thus no karma. For creation to arise, sustain itself, and ultimately dissolve, karmas are indispensable. None can escape this eternal law. Kamadeva's incineration by the fiery eye of Mahadeva is itself the inevitable result of his own actions, having earned the curse pronounced by his father, Brahmadeva. Though reduced to ashes, Kamadeva's desire to regain his physical form sparks a new cycle of action. This endless cycle of action and reaction continues unbroken, weaving the fabric of existence itself. Now, Kamadeva, reduced to mere ashes, must regain his physical form. Moved by this, Rati earnestly pleads with Mahadeva, who grants her a divine upaya. If Kamadeva builds a sacred kshetra for Kamakhya on the Nilachala Parvata, he shall be restored to his former radiant body. Having become Ananga, the bodiless one, Kamadeva now transcends physical limits. Mind and ether themselves dwell within this formless existence. Thus, Kamadeva transforms from the limited into the limitless, merging indistinguishably with pure consciousness, eternally pervasive. It is at this moment that Rati and Manmatha attain a stature equal to the divine pairs Shiva Parvati, Lakshmi Narayana, and Saraswati Brahma. Time passed, like clouds drifting across the vast sky. Meanwhile, Daksha immersed himself in deep tapasya directed toward Mahamaya Kamakhya, seeking to compel
Mahadeva to engage with the cosmic cycle of Shrishti, creation, Sthiti, preservation, and Samhara, destruction. Bhagavati Vishtumaya, none other than our Kamakhya, appeared before Daksha and granted him a boon. She will be born to his wife soon as his daughter, and shall become the wife of Mahadeva. But the moment Daksha lose his bhakti, devotion toward her, she will abandon this mortal body and return to her divine abode. Here, Daksha plays his part as envisioned by Mahamaya. How so? Mahamaya's mission is vast: to wedge Shambhu and draw him back into the cosmic dance of Shrishti, Sthiti, and Samhara. To fulfill this, she must cause Daksha to mistreat her and Shambhu, teaching the world the dire consequences of forgetting one's true nature and daring to challenge the divine. She tests Shambhu's love for her, establishes the sacred Shakti Peethas, inspires Kamadeva to build a temple, consecrates a primordial kshetra, reveals her profound mantra tantra vidya, and spreads this sacred wisdom far and wide. The list of her divine actions is endless, beyond the grasp of our limited minds. Daksha agreed to the boon, and soon his wife Virini became pregnant. Mahamaya was born to them as their beloved daughter. She grew up happily, nurtured by the loving care of Daksha and Virini. Daksha's devotion to Mahamaya remained as pure and clear as Sphatika crystal. Even in her childhood, Mahamaya was drawn to Shambhu and would often draw his form every day. As Sati matured, the affection of Daksha and Virini towards her deepened even more. One day, while Sati stood beside her father, Narad Maharishi and Brahmadeva came to meet Daksha. Both Brahma and Narad blessed her in such a way that she was destined to marry Shambhu. Sati devoted herself to worshipping Mahadeva as instructed by her mother Vilini. When her desire to marry Shambhu grew like an all-consuming fire, she undertook intense tapas to awaken him from his deep meditation and draw him to her. As a result of her tapas, Mahadeva descended to her presence and Sati greeted him with utmost devotion. Brahmadeva and Mahavishnu also convinced Mahadeva to marry her. Though Sati was speechless and Mahadeva could not express himself clearly, the ever-pervading Kamadeva pierced Mahadeva's heart with the arrow called Harshana, happiness with sexual excitement. Now, Mahadeva forgot his meditation and supreme consciousness, falling deeply in love with Sati, gazing at her repeatedly. But mere looking was not enough. Manmatha pierced his heart with another arrow called Mohana, enchantment, and Shambhu became completely enchanted by Sati. Seeing Shambhu's expressions, Sati began to ask for a boon. But before she could finish, Mahadeva repeatedly told her to be his wife. Now, Mahadeva's desire for Sati grew strong. An essential divine lust for which Brahma, Deva, Daksha, and even Mahamaya had performed a great and intense tapas. This divine lust of Mahadeva cannot be compared to the ordinary desire of a common man towards a random woman. Manmatha then made the Shrungara Rasa, the essence of romantic love and beauty, flow through both their minds and bodies. Realizing this, Sati began to ask Shambhu to speak to her father regarding their marriage. Yet, Shambhu continued to repeat the same words, urging her to be his wife. Manmatha, feeling victorious, sought to take complete control over Shambhu's heart. With his desire for Sati burning bright, Mahadev returned to Kailasha Parvata. There, he reflected on Brahma's words about marrying Sati. At the moment Shambhu thought of Brahma, Brahmadeva and Saraswati Devi appeared before him. Shambhu began to recount how intensely Sati had performed tapas to win his hand, how Kamadeva had pierced his heart with various arrows and then requested Brahmadeva to speak to Daksha in such a way that Daksha would invite Shambhu and give his daughter Sati in marriage.
In the next episode, we will witness how Daksha becomes a pawn in the divine play of Mahamaya, unfolding the deeper mysteries of destiny and devotion. What has unfolded in this episode is not the conclusion, but the careful preparation of a divine tapestry. Kamadeva, still Ananga, carries the condition of his restoration. Mahamaya, as Sati, descends into the world to reunite with Shiva. Rati's prayer, Daksha's tapas, Sati's penance, all act as divine sparks leading toward a greater ignition. And in the background, Nilachala Parvata awaits its destiny. The yoni has not yet fallen. Kamadeva's form has not yet returned, but the wheel of karma has turned. In the next episode of Kamakhya Tattva Bodha, we shall see how Daksha, once a vessel of bhakti, becomes an obstacle, and how even this obstacle serves the cosmic plan of Mahamaya. For now, remember, even divine restoration begins with tapas, not demand. Kamakhya watches. The Leela continues. And so, Kamakhya Tattva Bodha continues.